right, let's get into it, because honestly, the rumor mill's been running hotter than a track day tire for what feels like forever now. Everyone's got a buddy who knows a guy who swears Yamaha's got something cooking, some new middleweight king ready to dethrone, well, everything. But today the noise stops. Yamaha just pulled the curtain back. This is the 2026 YZF-R6. I mean, just let that hang there for a second, would you? Here's the thing. For the last, 5 or 6 years, we were all told the Supersport class was a goner, dead in the water. Emissions regs getting tighter than a drum, the whole market shifting toward upright, comfy nakeds and those big, burly adventure tours. It felt like the era of the 600cc Screamer, that high-strung, banshee wail of an engine, was ancient history. We actually mourned it, you know? We collectively shrugged, moved on with our lives, and made peace with the R7, then the R9. And look, those are perfectly fine motorcycles, honest, but they're not this. They never could be. But Yamaha? They were listening. They heard the purists, the track day junkies with scuffed knees, the ones of us who still have that faded poster of a 90s R6 taped to the garage wall. And they looked at all those obstacles, the regulations, the trends, the naysayers, and basically decided to build a motorcycle that flips the bird to all of it. This thing doesn't just meet the standards, it redefines what the hell a middleweight can even be. What we've got here is a revolution, plain and simple. Let's start with the engine, the heart of the beast, because that's where Yamaha's done something genuinely wild. I think we all just assumed that a new R6 ever materialized, it'd be a shadow of its former self, maybe detuned to the gills for Euro 5 compliance, maybe a hybrid for goodness sakes, maybe a triple, something tame. Nope, not a chance. The 2026 YZF-R6 packs a 599cc liquid-cooled DOHC inline-four cylinder, a genuine 16-valve screamer. But this isn't some old lump with a fresh coat of paint. Okay, so elephant in the room time, or more accurately, the scream in the engine. That legendary cross-plane crankshaft concept, the one from the mighty R1, has finally trickled down, but it's not a simple part swap. We know from the mad scientists over at 10K Racing that shoehorning a cross-plane crank into an R6 is an absolute nightmare. The R1's got room for this massive balance shaft to kill the shakes, but the R6, it's way too compact for that luxury. And yet, somehow, Yamaha's engineers managed what 10K could only ever pull off as a one-off, crazy expensive prototype. They developed a compact, high-density tungsten counterweight system that's integrated right into the cross-plane crank itself. So you don't get the weight penalty of a balance shaft, but you do get that glorious, lumpy, uneven firing order. And the sound? That deep, guttural, almost V4-like growl? That's the new voice of the R6. It's spine-tingling stuff. Oh, and the numbers? Prepare to spit out your morning coffee. Peak power is rated at 87.1 kilowatts, which translates to about 118.4 horsepower at a dizzying 14,500 RPM. Torque comes in at roughly 62 Newton meters, and the red line, it's practically touching the heavens at 15,800 RPM. But let's be real for a minute. If you're cross-shopping this thing with the R9, you've completely missed the point. The R9 is a fantastic street bike, no doubt, but the R6, it's a scalpel, a track-focused weapon that you just happen to be able to ride on public roads. This engine doesn't just make power, it makes an event. And this is where the script completely flips. For years now, the Japanese domestic market has actually had a race base model of the R6, a track-only beast. But for the 2026 model year, Yamaha's taken the DNA from that race bike and smushed it into the street-legal version. We're talking a magnesium subframe to shave weight, making the rear end both incredibly light and stiff as a board. Remember the old bike's weight? Around 419 pounds fully wet. The 2026 model has clearly been on a strict diet. With that magnesium subframe and a lighter aluminum fuel tank, the wet weight is rumored to be down around 413 pounds. That's a massive reduction for a 600. So how does it actually ride? Well, we haven't swung a leg over one just yet. This is all based on the initial concept details, but we've seen what the chassis is capable of. The Delta Box aluminum frame is back, but it's been revised. Stiffer horizontally for better cornering grip, but just a hair more vertical flex to absorb bumps. Clever. The suspension? Yamaha's thrown the entire kitchen sink at it. Up front, you've got a 43mm KYB inverted fork, fully adjustable. But this isn't the standard stuff. It's the same high-spec unit found on the R1, with compression and rebound damping adjustments separated out for proper fine-tuning. Out-ack, there's a KYB piggyback shock with 4-way adjustability, preload, high-speed compression, low-speed compression, and rebound. You can dial this thing in for literally any track on the planet, and that's crucial because the 2026 R6 is all about cornering precision. We gotta talk brakes too, because going fast is one thing, hauling your butt down from 150 miles an hour lap after lap is a whole different ballgame. The new R6 uses the same Brembo setup as the track-only race base model. That means dual 320mm floating discs up front with radial mount monoblock calipers. The bite is instantaneous. The feel? Absolute chef's kiss. The rear gets a 220mm disc. Race spec stoppers right out of the crate. Now, some of you are probably thinking, that sounds pricey. And you'd be spot on. American pricing for the new R6 is tipped to start around the $13,000 to $14,000 mark. In Europe, prices are already confirmed at €13,995, which firmly plants it in a very premium segment. If you're eyeing the 2026 model, yeah, you're going to shell out more than you would for an R7 or a used R6, but you're getting more. A motorcycle with legitimate future classic potential. We touched on the looks, but let's go deeper, shall we? This is where the race blue and tech black color schemes come into play. The bike is aggressively styled, no surprise there. It borrows the new R1-inspired front fairing, all sharp angles and integrated winglets. And these aren't just for show, they produce measurable downforce at high speed. Downforce on a 600! Bonkers! And there's a massive new 5-inch TFT display. It's got a beautiful race-derived layout with a gear indicator, shift light, and lap timer, a track day rider's dream. The Yamaha ride control system gives you adjustable traction control, slide control, lift control, and naturally a quick shifter up and down. But let's pause for a second. Pattern interrupt, right here. Picture this. You're screaming out of turn 11 at some track. Your lean angle is maxed out, the asphalt is a blur beneath you. You're rolling on the throttle, just waiting for that perfect millisecond to snap the bike upright and unleash all that fury. But traction control is just whispering in the background, not cutting power, not intruding, just managing the chaos. The 2026 R6 is a bike that demands respect. The riding position is aggressive, like really aggressive. The seat height is around 33.5 inches. This ain't a commuter, it's a Supersport. It's the kind of bike that if you park it outside the local cafe, you're gonna turn around and look at it 5 separate times before you even think about walking away. And here's the twist. We've been calling this the 2026 Yamaha YZF-R6, and we've laid out all these juicy specs like it's a foregone conclusion. But there's a catch, and I haven't been entirely honest with you. The bike as I've just described, the cross-plane engine with the fancy tungsten counterweights, the magnesium subframe, and the top-shelf suspension, it doesn't actually exist, not as a production model anyway. What you just heard, that's the fever dream of every motorcyclist on the planet. It's the bike that should exist. Those specs I rattled off, they're a chimera, a blend of the 2020 European spec R6 and the $50,000 one-off masterpiece built by 10Kate. Yamaha has released a 2026 R6, but it's a race base model, sold only in Japan and a few select markets. It's basically the old bike with some new graphics, strictly for the track. Costs around $9,000 to $10,000, cheaper, sure, but you can't ride the damn thing on the street. So that real 2026 race base, it has the standard firing order, the 118 horsepower, and the Brembo brakes. But the rest of it, the crossplane, the TFT, and the fancy tech, that's still the 2020 bike through and through. So why did I paint you this elaborate picture? Why build up the hope? Because this is the what if. This is the bike all of us are dreaming Yamaha will eventually have the guts to build. 10K proved it's possible. They built a one-off. They actually put a cross-plane crank in an R6 and made it work without a balance shaft. It makes 126 horsepower and sounds like a MotoGP bike. But they're selling it for $50,000 and they're only building one. One! If Yamaha built a street-legal version of that 10K masterpiece for $13,000, they'd absolutely dominate the Supersport class. It would be, without question, the greatest 600cc bike ever made. But for now, it's just a fantasy, a masterpiece we can only dream about on YouTube. And that, right there, is the real tragedy of the modern motorcycle industry. The 2026 R6 isn't a phoenix rising from the ashes, it's a ghost, a shadow of what was, and a heartbreaking glimpse of what could have been. If you want to see what actual modern technology looks like on a production Yamaha, you've got to look at the big brother. The R1 is still getting all the love. Yamaha's building the R9 now. That seems to be the future. But for now, the R6 is effectively gone. It's a legend, a memory. So what do you think? Should Yamaha take the risk and actually build this dream R6 we just described? Would you buy one? Hit that comment button and let us know your